troops who carry tracking devices are assigned to, what the equipment looks like, or where it's placed on the body. Just about every U.S. military vehicle in Iraq has GPS or another type of electronic tracking device so their commanders can monitor them. It's called Blue Force tracking. Some law enforcement units back home have experimented with chips that give physical data about officers but don't have tracking signals. U.S. military officials say soldiers and Marines in most regular combat units in Iraq, like the Missing Soldiers Division, are not outfitted with tracking devices. One reason? The danger involved if a soldier carrying one gets captured.
That provides certain options for the adversary. If he knows that this is a tracker and somebody's going to come back and get this tracker because they think it's associated with a human being, they have the ability to set up an ambush for whatever unit's going to come back and try and find this unit.
One option, placing a tracking microchip under a service member's skin. Former U.S. Special Operations officers tell us they believe that's being developed. Current military officials won't comment on that, Wolf.
Yeah, what about the cost, Brian? Is that at all a consideration?
It's a big consideration. Just about every former officer I spoke with says the cost of outfitting each combat troop with a tracking device is one of the main reasons they don't have them right now.
So when you speak with the various special operations types and others, and I know you've been doing a lot of reporting on this, the pros and cons of having these kinds of tracking devices, what do they say, Brian?
Some believe that every service member should have them. Some don't because of the risks we talk about. But others say if they can deal with the cost and pay for all of this, it is worth it not only to track missing troops, but to be able to tell friendlies from enemies on the battlefield.
Brian Todd reporting for us. Such devices, by the way, are not just tools for war. They're also tools that could keep all of us and all of our families safe. We saw that back in February when 3 mountain climbers and their dog were stranded overnight on Oregon's Mount Hood. Rescuers found them all safe by tracking their mountain locator unit, a device similar to the one seen here. Also, many models of cell phones use GPS tracking software that could locate you in case of an emergency. There are also several products available to keep track of children. Many of them act as emergency cell phones and tracking devices, with some even able to display on a map the places your child has visited. Still ahead tonight in the situation.
The Real ID Act, a post-9/11 plan to improve security rules for driver's licenses. Finally, details were unveiled Friday, and it's going to mean big changes in the way we get and renew our most common form of ID. NBC's Pete Williams has more on the story. Good morning, Pete.
Amy, this is something that will affect nearly everybody that has a driver's license. That's more than 200 million of us. We'll all soon face more scrutiny when these licenses come up for renewal. Responding to a storm of protest from states, the Department of Homeland Security says it will delay by nearly a decade the final deadline for Real ID, a requirement that Americans get a more secure driver's license if they want to use it to board planes and pass federal security checks.
We think going forward with this rule is a fair balance between important security measures and the need to make sure we are cost-effective in what we do.
To lower the costs, Real ID will concentrate first on younger Americans, starting with the age group most terrorists have come from. Within the next 6 years, by 2014, anyone under 50 must get the new, more secure ID. For everyone else, the deadline is 2017. Getting Real ID will require showing up with documents to prove identity and home address. The states must also add security features to make licenses harder to counterfeit. The Homeland Secretary says it will be worth the cost and bother.
It prevents someone from evading a watch list and getting on an airplane and blowing the plane up because they pretended to be someone else. Second, it damages or just takes away one of the major tools of illegal immigration.
And Secretary Chertoff says by phasing this program in over the next 9 years, it will cut about 75% off the cost to the states, Amy.
And Pete, speaking of states, I understand there are still quite a few who are resisting this notion of a secure or a real ID. What then happens to those residents of those states that are still resisting?
Some states have actually even passed laws saying, no, we're not going to take part. And I think Homeland hopes that the states that have rejected Real ID as either too expensive or not worth the trouble will now reconsider. These states have until May to say whether they will join the program. But if they still say no, then their residents, as of this May, will no longer be able to use a driver's license to board an airplane and will need some other form of accepted federal ID, and for most people that'll mean a passport. All
right, Pete, so we all know the lines at the DMV are notoriously long. What happens now with this now overhaul when I go next time, say, to the DMV to renew my driver's license?
Okay, well, when you renew your current license and switch over to Real ID, you will need to show up in person. You can't do this online or in the mail. You'll have to have your picture taken. They'll get your digital signature. And you'll have to bring a document to prove that you are who you say you are. And your current driver's license won't work for that. The state will verify those documents and do a computer search to make sure that nobody else with your name and social security number has a license in any other state. And by the way, Homeland says this is one way that they'll help to reduce identity theft. That'll take some time, so don't expect to get your Real ID license the same day. It's going to be mailed to you, most likely.
All right, and I'm sure there will be long lines as usual. Pete Williams, thank you.
President Bush signed a formal agreement that will end the United States as we know it, and he took the step without approval from either the U.S. Congress or the people of the United States.
The secret organizations of the world power elite are no longer secret.
It's known as the Bilderberg Group. Could their objective be world domination?
I'm Jim Tucker. I've chased Bilderberg for 30 years. I'll never give up the chase. Bilderberg plan for the whole world is nothing less than world government.
I'm not comfortable with that at all. Who elected these guys to run the planet?
They are the elitists. They feel they should run the world for their own selfish interests.
Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order.
Bilderberg is making great progress toward a world government, and only an educated, informed public can stop them in their tracks.
David Rockefeller admits in his own memoirs that he wants to destroy the United States. Right. He's a traitor.
It's good to be back at the Council on Foreign Relations. As Pete mentioned, I've been a member for a long time and was actually a director for some period of time. I never mentioned that when I was campaigning for re-election back home in Wyoming.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories.
I need you to move off the property, please.
Some shots were fired.
There's Bilderbergers right there.
The Trans-Texas Corridor is a vital part because we stop it here in Texas. We stop the new world order right here in Texas.
This thing started here. And to save this country, we kill this damn thing here.
A chance for the President of the United States to carry out a phrase his father used, and that is a new world order.
Your new world order will fall. Humanity will defeat you. The answer to 1984 is 1776.
In the near future, Earth is dominated by a powerful world government. Once free nations are slaves to the will of a tiny elite. The dawn of a new dark age is upon mankind. Countries are a thing of the past. Every form of independence is under attack, with the family and even the individual itself nearing extinction. Close to 80% of the Earth's population has been eliminated. The remnants of a once free humanity are forced to live within highly controlled, compact, prison-like cities. Travel is highly restricted. Superhighways connect the megacities and keep the population from entering into unauthorized zones. No human activity is private. AI supercomputers chronicle and categorize every action. A prison planet dominated by a ruthless gang of control freaks.